This is the Coach Bryan Moore Show with Opelika head football coach Bryan Moore. And now with Coach Moore, the voice of the Bulldogs, Van Riggs.
Welcome into the Bryan Moore Show. I'm Van Riggs. Our first episode here for 2025. We're glad you're with us here. Coach Bryan Moore is going to join up with us here in our next segment. We're going to start off with Kade McGee, strength and conditioning, I know performance. Tell us your official title here at the school, Kade. I know you've got a lot of different things.
Yeah, official title is Director of Athletic Performance. So that entails all the sports here, all the athletes. And I love that the school called it performance because that's essentially what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase athletic performance, right? So it's not just strength, not just conditioning, but it's overall athletic performance.
Yeah, I know we've talked with you before, and a lot of people may have been seeing the videos pop up on social media. When we're talking about football, I mean, the off season is here. This is where really you win and lose ball games. You've got to get the strength built up, and the tracking that you guys do on the speed with some of these athletes, how much they lift. We've seen the goals being broken. Just kind of talk about the whole process.
Yeah, so off season's been going great. Our kids are really bought in. They're working hard. And I'm not just saying that. I'm really pleased with their effort and how they're buying into it. You know, you talk about tracking. You know, we track a lot of stuff, right? So like I always say, the data don't lie, right? And so I'm big on using technology in the weight room. And so we track our sprints, we track our jumps, we track our body weight, and we want to see those trends going upward, right? And so like I tell the kids, you know, you're not going to improve every single week. You're going to have some ebbs and flows in that, but across the board, we want to see that average increasing. So every week we get what we call a 10-yard fly, and so that's a time they get, and we start kind of small, and we're going to extend it out, so it'll be like a longer sprint as we go throughout the spring. And then we also do a vertical jump every week on the jump mat, seeing how high we can jump. So I mean, it just helps drive intent, competition with the kids. I mean, they love seeing those numbers. They love seeing those improvements. And it keeps me accountable too as their coach, right? So like it helps me, if I see those numbers aren't improving, maybe I need to step back and kind of analyze some things and change some things here and there. But overall, man, our kids just really good. Our body weight's been increasing and our sprint times have been coming down, which is what you want to see.
Right, and Kade not only works football, you're working with all sports, girls, boys. I mean, I know we've got soccer going right now, tennis, all these different sports, golf. You're working with all of them.
Right, yeah, and it's been awesome. Coach has been great. I'm just about to, here in a minute, go train the baseball and softball team through a lift. So with those in-season kids, you know, we're just trying to stay consistent 2 times a week is what I tell the coaches, and they've been great about getting their kids in there, making it a priority. And so, you know, we're just trying to increase strength throughout the year and speed and power and stay healthy, really. I mean, that's the main priority is we're just trying to keep our kids healthy and strong so when it matters most late in the year, they're at their best.
Yeah, and I know, I'm sure the workout for a baseball player is a little different than a workout for an offensive lineman or a football player in general. You kind of tailor it to what they're doing, and how do you kind of juggle that with some players that may play multiple sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a question I get all the time. And, you know, I tell people, you know, at the high school level, a lot of their lifts actually do look pretty similar. You know, all of our kids, all of our high school kids, they need most of the time the same stuff, right? They need to get stronger. They need to move better. They need to work on their speed and flexibility. And so I don't care what sport you're playing, whether it's baseball or soccer or football, strength is never going to be a weakness. It's only going to improve their performance. And so if you came and watched our teams train, a lot of their lifts look very similar, but there might be some little things here and there that are more tailored to their sport. So for instance, like with baseball and softball, just give you an example. Like right now in the middle of the season, we're working a lot of what I call anti-rotation core work because they're constantly rotating, swinging, throwing every day at practice. And so I try to combat all that rotation they're doing at the field and at practice with what we call anti-rotation. It's just a fancy word for certain core exercises that we do. And so we do that for those sports, but for the majority, everybody's going to look pretty similar.
All right, now I know with the football team, you know, there's no stoppage in working out. I mean, this is going to be a big summertime deal too. So kind of take us through with football. I know spring practice will be coming up here in a couple months and then right into the summer and then you go into the fall. So how does the workouts change as we get closer maybe to action with spring training?
Yeah, they do change as far as the emphasis goes. So like I tell people with football, kind of how we map it out from January up until spring ball, the main focus is what we call hypertrophy or muscular growth. So we're trying to pack on muscle size on our boys, trying to put armor on them, is what I like to call it. And then after spring break, from spring break throughout the rest of the spring semester, we really shift our focus to max strength. So we're just trying to get as strong as we humanly possibly can. And then after that, once we roll into the summertime, the emphasis shifts more to the field. So we're focusing on speed, agility, deceleration, conditioning, agility, game speeds, what I call it. We're still going to lift, but the focus and priority is more of the weight room from January to spring. That's when we're in there 4 days a week, training hard, lifting hard. And then summertime, the emphasis switches more to skill work. Okay, like football skill work, like running your routes, running your plays, and stop and start and go and all that. And then we'll still lift throughout the summer. It'll just be cut back a little bit. And then as we transition into fall camp, preseason, it's all speed, power based. So like the heavy weight is pretty much gone for the most part, and it's just all about speed, speed, speed. We're trying to ramp up those guys' nervous system, get them used to flying around, being explosive.
Kade McGee, busy guy, he handles all the sports, and I know, how's the family? Everybody doing good?
Family's great. Wife is really enjoying Opelika. We love it here, man. This is such a great community. I mean, we truly love it here in Opelika. It's a small town feel, but it's a big city. Loving our church at First Baptist Opelika, and just really happy here. Excited for the future.
Yeah, appreciate you and the work you're doing. Thanks so much, Kade.
Thanks, man.
We'll be back as we continue on the Bryan Moore Show with head coach Bryan Moore after this timeout. Welcome back here on the Bryan Moore Show. This time we're with head coach Bryan Moore. And Coach, good to see you here in 2025. First time we've had a chance to visit here on the show. I know a lot's been going on. We were talking to Kade about the workout program. It never stops, does it?
No, and he's done a great job. I mean, that's been the biggest thing, I think, for our off season was, bringing Kade here. He got here in June of last year. He spent some days with us and everything like that. But, really we hadn't seen a full off season with him. I had done it. Coach Fleming, was doing it until I got here, and then, my spin on it or whatever, but it was all about getting big and strong, which is a part of the equation. I mean, last year it was all about nutrition, and, Mr. Tim Moore came and did that for us, and, and we started to, pour those core powers into our kids, and we gained, I always talked about Cord Ingram and some of those guys gaining 20 pounds or whatever, but it's more than that now. Like the thing that I've learned the most from Kade, and I know he's just been on here, but the thing that I've learned the most about what he does is it's not just big and strong, but it's fast and explosive. It's being able to bend and stay flexible and jump. And, a lot of our videos that people have seen on Facebook, that's what it's been about. It's been about, showing the explosive piece of that movement. And we're seeing it, really when we run, our times are coming down and, rank and publish things. So he's just been a huge addition to our program, and we're finally seeing a full year under him and the transformation that our kids have gone through because of his work.
And I know it's a benefit for you because you can get with them and go, hey, I need player A to become an offensive lineman who may have been a linebacker last year. Just just a crazy example of that. And work with him and make him a lineman for me.
Right. Well, and weight gains and I always call it red light, yellow light, green light.
Yeah.
We've got not many red light guys, which we're like, all right, 320's enough.
Yeah.
That's where we want to be. But we got a lot of green light guys who are like, hey man, we need to really push the core power and push the food. And then when I had our parent meeting, I talked to them about that too. Because a lot of mamas, man, like, even my wife and stuff, like you want your kids to be fit, you want your kids, but like there's a different fitness level with football players. I always tell them abs are a thing of the past. We're trying to get big, strong backs and shoulders and put armor on our body, for this, you think of a guy like Calvin Hughley and his health over last year. Well, it had to do with the weight room. It had to do with his commitment to weight gain and get to 205 pounds, instead of 185, 190 pounds, to put this on us to be able to protect yourself, in a very violent game. So that's been big, but yes, for sure. And that's the why when I got here in conjunction with Dr. Seymour and Ms. Fisher, it was like, well, what do we want out of that position? That's not a football guy. Like I said, I don't want a guy that coaches linebackers being our strength coach. I want him to focus on their bodies. And even during the ball game, like if you watch Kade, his whole deal is walking around with like liquid IVs and make sure guys, he stretches, like I've talked about before, spend the whole halftime stretching Calvin out or working with guys and flexing guys. So like his entire focus is on our physical preparation. And that's what we wanted, and he's done a tremendous job.
All right, as we move into the new season, we're looking ahead. I know there's a lot of things coming up. Spring football, there's going to be some fundraisers. First up, something we've been working on, I know a state fundraiser dinner that's going to be kind of a pickup deal where you can buy some tickets from the football players. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so we'll start selling those tickets. They're $25 a ticket, and you get a New York strip, baked potato, a dessert, and it's really well cooked. We're going to buy a 12-ounce strip and get everybody going on that. So really, to buy a $25 steak nowadays, that's pretty tough to find even.
And we've recruited some professional steak cookers too.
Dean Rogers will help us do that, and he's outstanding. He's catered several of our meals with our kickoff dinner and some things like that. So we need a point person. So like Dean can't cook them all. We're trying to cook 1,000 steaks. And so our football program will make over $10,000, and Jimmy Wright's going to help us with some of that stuff. We talked with him about the steaks and potatoes and stuff like that. So, really we need help, cooking, and our kids are going to be pushing those steak plates out. We're going to sell those really for a couple of weeks, but cook them on April 10th. And so from 6 to 7, we may kind of broaden that range. We don't know exactly yet, but we're going to pick up here at the high school. And so coming by the IPF and around, we can kind of push people through. And that's going to make a difference, in our budget. It's an additional fundraiser we didn't do a year ago. Basically spring has its own cost with equipment and stuff like that. So, we just ordered new flex helmets, which is to me the safest that we can provide our kids. And so, it's expensive. And so those things are $405 per helmet now, and shoulder pads are over $200. So, it's a lot. And so we're doing that, and we got a couple more coming up too. But appreciate our quarterback club and some guys getting involved helping us with that. But that'll be April 10th. Here on the high school campus, 6 to 7 that night.
All right, more information will be pushed out on social media, so be looking for information on that. Schedule, I know, may have been already published on social media. Look out for that graphic, but we'll talk a little bit about the schedule this year because there's some interesting things coming up. Of course, Callaway's back on there again. We've got 2 Thursday games this year. Kind of talk about some of the highlights of the schedule.
Yeah, really excited about that. It was my first year. Coach Williams, our AD, kind of went and scheduled that as I was being hired. So like the region meeting was happening last year, and we were in talks of getting this done. And so I think I got Pike Road was maybe the only game that I scheduled. And so, last year we'll play the same schedule. It'll be flipped.
Right.
And so everybody that we travel to will come to us and vice versa, with the exception of JAG, that they're going to come back to us this year. So we will likely see 6 home games and 4 road games, which I like that too.
We don't complain about that.
No, being at home is huge.
Yeah.
In Bulldog Stadium, it helps us in so many ways. Our band gets an extra concession. We get an extra gate. There's a lot that goes into that. So we're excited about that schedule. The 2 Thursday night games. So Callaway will be on a Thursday night, partly because we're there in LaGrange at a shared stadium, and also because we're going to be on public television, Georgia Public Television, which I really love that kind of stuff. Any exposure for our players, our program is huge. And then the Auburn game, a lot of people have asked me about it. It will be on a Thursday night. I believe that's September 3rd. I'm not looking at it, but it'll be that first Thursday in September. And the reason for that is because we're going to be on statewide television in Alabama. And so the mayor kind of got this going. Actually, Mayor Fuller was at a conference and started talking to those guys that do WOTM, that do our AHSA championship games. And they said they want it to be their game of the week.
Yeah.
And I welcome that kind of stuff because not only do we sell our football program, but like Ms. Fisher and Dr. Seymour get to sell, there's like a 10-minute segment in the middle, like at halftime, to where they'll watch our band, which is good for our band, but also they'll talk with our administration. And they can sell the great things we have going on in our city. Look, this city and area is growing like crazy. We need to highlight those things.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
So this is a great opportunity. I was a little hesitant, to be honest, about the Thursday because I'm like, all right, it's the first region game. Like, it's our rival.
Yeah.
It's really big. But I just think it's that important for our kids. It may help one of them get recruited. And it helps us sell our school and how awesome Bulldog Stadium is at this point. And so it's a really cool thing. Our cheerleaders, everybody will be involved with that, with a game day, almost an ESPN type atmosphere to where there are pre-game things going on, to where you're seeing a lot of interviews much like this, where people are standing and talking about, again, all the great things that we have going on. So I'm encouraged by that. And then really the rest of the season will play out the same. Again, we have a contract with JAG right now about coming back, which would be homecoming. I think that's September the 12th. Mm-hmm. But again, the rest of the season rocks on. Biggest games, I guess, on the road, we've got to go to Central and Enterprise, which will be big, which will be tough. Again, to Callaway. But a lot of home games, a lot of big ones with Auburn and Ben Russell being early.
Yeah.
Ben Russell, a lot of excitement. Much like, they kind of called us when I was coming in, so it's a huge crowd.
Yeah.
First game of the year, everybody wants to see what you got and all that. In Alex City last year, same thing for us this year. With Coach Johnson coming in, has an incredible track record.
Right.
Coming in to bring Ben Russell here, and that's always been a great gate for us. So we're excited about that. The other away game is Smith Station. So again, encouraged by that. The bye week will be the last game of the year. But I like the schedule a lot. It's been a lot of fun to kind of move pieces and again, create some exposure for our players.
All right, go ahead and mark down your calendars too for some of those big games, but also spring game coming up in May. I know we've already said it. We're going to play Wetumpka in a spring game.
That's right. So it'll be kind of a weird structure. So on Tuesday, May 13th, our 9th grade will play LaGrange. So our 8th grade will play an inter-squad game. Our 9th grade will play LaGrange after. It's hard to find other 8th grades that go through spring. I appreciate Coach Ferguson and all those guys for doing that. Really excited about that. So we'll play that on May the 13th in Bulldog Stadium. I think the first game starts at 5 Central Time. Or the inter-squad piece, and then maybe 6:30 with the 9th grade. And then May the 16th, we play Wetumpka. We play a JV portion starting at 5, and we play a varsity portion starting at 6:30. And so I don't know how long yet. I'll talk to Coach Woods about that, but we haven't finalized that. But I'm excited because now, same thing, you're getting multiple groups playing in Bulldog Stadium. It gives them a reason to really compete in the spring, to be able to play somebody else and put the first glimpse of the 25 Bulldogs out there for people. I know you guys will be there,
yep.
And the band will be there. I want it to be a game-like atmosphere, man. It's hard to go through 9-10 days of real 2-hour plus practices and not play at the end. And so to me, we're always going to play a spring game. I love to play them at home, and I appreciate Wetumpka for coming this year. We played Clay Chalkville last year, but so we're excited about spring, and it'll be here before we know it. We'll start that April the 29th. And then we'll kind of lace varsity and freshmen in there. And then we'll have some combined with the freshmen as well. So it'll be like 160 kids out there. It's crazy. But I like for the young guys to see the old ones practice and how they operate. And it's just so different for them than what they're used to. And being with older guys, we of course control that. And we don't put a bunch of 14-year-olds against 18-year-olds. But we like to see them go through that and how we should practice. And then it'll be a huge evaluation time for our players. To me, the spring evaluation from colleges is the #1 recruiting time. So people said, well, you don't have to do spring anymore. You can start fall earlier. Those 10 days are crucial. They're crucial for our players. And part of the reason I think that 8 guys got signed last year was because we were able to put the product on the field for people in spring, get them on the board so that these college coaches could start recruiting them. So I'm really excited about our senior class, excited about their work ethic and leadership and how they develop. So eager to see them in spring.
Yeah, and so many of the guys, too, will be maybe starting for the first time, but got a lot of game experience last year. I know we had 11 seniors starting on defense, but boy, there was 11 guys behind them that got a lot of playing time, too.
That, special teams included. We I think bring back 12 guys that you could consider starter-ish, like Baby TJ and some of those guys that were in
1A, 1B guys.
Yeah, because we played them so much. Josh Davis and some of those guys up front. So we really did a good job, I think our coaches did, of developing them, playing guys in big games even, in big moments, and then playing a bunch of JV games. I mean, we played 6 or 7 JV games last year and a full freshman schedule as well. So our kids have played a lot, and they've played in Bulldog Stadium. They know how to practice. Coach Cahill and his staff with our freshmen got our kids ready to play. I mean, you can tell, that now that they've kind of come into first block with the older kids, they know how to operate. They're very mature, and that has a lot to do with the job that they did. So I always say it didn't sneak up on us. Having 30 seniors, I mean, I can remember some times last year where I thought, man, I'm going to miss that guy. Look out there and see Malik or Smiley or Calvin or any of those guys, Jamari, and you think, all those offensive linemen, man, I'm going to miss them, but you got to have a plan for it, and I think our coaches did a good job with it.
Yeah. Coach, appreciate the visit. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Van.
Don't forget, stay tuned because a lot to come. I mentioned the steak dinner coming up in April, and look out from social media for all updates on that, spring practice, and the football schedule for 2025. And continue to support all the Bulldogs participating in the spring sports. I know a lot of excitement going on right now at Bulldog Park, at Westridge, and all over. So enjoy that. And, of course, soccer season in full swing as well. And we'll see you back next time right back here on The Bryan Moore Show.